I look more like I'm about to film like a parody about libraries, but this is actually how I dress every day. So I fit into the stereotype. Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome to Bookies and Cookies. You're watching this video because you want to know what books I haven't read. Spoiler, it's a lot. So the whole kind of idea for this video came when I was talking to a few coworkers about what their staff picks were. We have a whole staff pick collection and we just add like our name, the book's title, and like a little bit of why we liked it. So my library is like really big on advisory. So we're looking at the staff picks in the book sections, and two of my coworkers are talking about The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and they're like, yeah, just so great. So I'm like, yeah, like Patrick Rothfuss is great. I'm like, I think it should be known that I actually haven't read it. And they look at me and I'm like, I really love it. Do you ever have those books that like you have like a really fond, like important attachment to that you like love and you love seeing them and you love what they represent, but you haven't even read them? And they look at me like, this is a very like unique problem just to you. So I'm talking to y'all because I can't be the only one. So being a part of like the bookternet, you hear about so many books and you can't possibly keep up with them all at once, but you kind of start to like have favorites, like, oh, that's the one with the really pretty cover. Oh, that's the one that my favorite booktuber loves, or that's the one that's always on Bookstagram. So it kind of builds up the layers and creates this like reinforcement of these books that you haven't even read, but you have a strong attachment to them. So rather than list off a very specific list of books I haven't read and why I haven't read them, but why I still love them, I'm going to talk about this a little bit more broadly, if you will. Our opinions, our voices, our trust, and our reviews have worth. They can't just be backed up by meaningless words and meaningless ideas. They need to have value so you have credibility, that you aren't supporting things that you don't fully get behind. So I'm not talking about blindly supporting books that we haven't read and give our full stamp of approval for, but supporting books that deserve our support that we just haven't gotten a chance to read yet. So you can't go around saying, I support this book and I support that book and this book and that one and this and that, and you get my support and you do you and you and you and you and you, and giving it out so widely that you have no more credibility. So now getting back to where this is all leading, diversity. Hey! Did you think the video was gonna go there? Did you? It's about supporting those books and authors that are often overlooked or neglected or aren't given the marketing tools that we can help support them. It's doing that little bit extra, including them in your book hauls and pointing out their representation, or including them in a tag video, or even displaying them more prominently on your bookshelf or taking more pictures of them, so it reinforces the idea of those books in people's minds, so that when they see it at a bookstore, they see an ad for it online, they recognize it and it helps build them up. Most publishers are already putting those marketing dollars towards the #1 New York Times bestsellers. Those are already getting the exposure that they need. Getting on that list alone is exposure. I'm talking about supporting the books that may not be getting that. It's doing very tiny things like what I mentioned about including them in hauls and videos or whatever. It's tweeting about them. It's about going into a bookstore and saying, oh, let's make a diverse book the front layout. So you see that one instead of it turned. It's when I'm shelving and I see that there's an easel open and I see what's on that shelf and I'm like, oh, let's grab More Happy Than Not. Let's grab Shadow Shaper. Let's grab Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Let's grab If I Was Your Girl. Let's grab one of those diverse books and put that out on display, and putting those books in a more viewable place where the people who need them can find them. So kind of having like this love and attachment to books I haven't read and then begin recommending them to people even though I haven't read them personally, and that I know would be valuable for someone else to read, has done me the world of good, saying, I want to read this book. When people ask me for book recommendations, I give them a few things I've read, I always go across genres, and then I say, I want to read this book, and this was why. I want to read that book, and that is why. And I include the representation, and I include that diversity, I include that it is a well-rounded book. I think there's even equal worth from saying, I read a book and I love it, but it's I want to read this book and this is why it's important. So this video has taken lots of twists and turns that you weren't expecting and I wasn't expecting. So I'm not quite sure what I want y'all to leave with, but just know that adding a little bit of extra exposure to those books outside of the hype could be extremely valuable to that book, that author, and then the reader that gets their hands on that book. My name's Laura, this has been Bookies and Cookies. I post videos on Sundays and Thursdays, and I love each and every one of you, and I hope you never forget that. You are loved. And remember to love books that you haven't read. Thanks, guys. So you see that one instead of it turned, it's what's the word I'm thinking of? It's not ethical, but not you. Just some things to keep in mind.